Good evening. It is 7 p.m. I'd like to call to order this regular August meeting of the Stevensville School Board of Trustees. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'll take the roll of the Board of Trustees. Dan. Jennifer. Here. Tony. Here. Fran. Here. I'm here. Ben. Stephanie. Billy. Here. And Nathan. All right. Seeing that 7 of the 8 trustees are present, a quorum is present as well, and we will conduct tonight's meeting. We'll start first with any recognition of visitors and comment from the board. So, administration, recognition of anyone tonight?
Sure. We'd like to introduce some people that are new to our table here. As you can tell, we kind of extended our table 8 feet or so. Just wanted to make sure to introduce our principals and directors. We have several people that are returning, but I want to start with people that are new to us. We'll start over here with Beth Schreiber. She'll be doing curriculum director in Title I. Thanks, Beth, for being here. And then in the back, we have William Orion Hunt. He goes by Orion, correct? He's our new technology director. We've changed kind of the location of where he is at, make him a little more accessible, not upstairs and what the nickname was called Siberia. Now he's down in the high school on the first floor, and we're hoping to be able to work with him. He's interested in connecting with kids with helping support with technology. And so we felt like having him down on that first level would be fantastic to be able to utilize him. So we're happy that he is here. Obviously, Brody is in kind of a new position with athletic coordinator. Brody's here tonight. Thanks, Brody. Then we have Ryan Hamilton, who is the assistant principal at the elementary and middle school AD. And you guys have probably met Shelby already. She's new this last year, as well as Glenda and myself in the positions. And then, of course, we have high school principal Zeke Caney, assistant principal Danny Smith, and we have Angie Armour at the middle school and Sierra Bauer at the elementary. So kind of the whole team is all here today. I told them this is a meeting where could go a little bit long, but I know they all have stuff to do tomorrow, so I may be shipping them out between 9:45 and 10 tonight so they can get home to get ready for work tomorrow. Some of them have to present, actually all of them have to present something tomorrow to somebody. And teach, yes. So, and of course, Bill Shealy, who has helped us tremendously in the back there with in the financial end of everything. So I want to make sure to acknowledge Bill as well. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. They're coming from the board.
I've got just a little something. Welcome everybody and welcome back. It's really exciting to see that big old table and we extended it, but it's still not enough. Still I just wanted to put out there, just a little planning ahead, but MSL is coming up, board training. It's the whole coalition. So it's school board members, it's superintendents, it's business managers. This year it is in Helena. It is during MEA. I believe it is the
16th, 17th.
16th, 17th, 18th. So it's half day on Wednesday, full day Thursday, half day Friday. So it's a little pre-planning, but we can contact the business office to register for that if you're choosing to go.
Terrific, yes.
Take a look and see if it's a deal, and it's a time commitment, but it is the trainings are really good. This year they're definitely going to be, they're kind of every other year cycle, so they'll be processing a lot of the information that came out of the session and how the districts can use it to benefit us and how we can maximize the potential there. And then also just being in these rooms with all these other people that have similar and shared experiences with us that are having it somewhere else in a different way is a really cool and important experience to have.
Thank you, Stephanie. Other board comments? I make a quick comment on my end. I appreciate all the work that the school is just buzzing, full of life, and it kind of has been all summer. All the summer programs too. It's been great to see that and everything. It's picked up here in the past few days, the past week. Looking forward to a great start of the school year and the work that we've put into it, and a special recognition, acknowledgement. It was good to see one school group in the Premier Picnic Parade and engage with the community. Appreciate that the cheerleaders pulled together and did that. So we'll recognize that they made that extra effort and did that. All right, we'll move on to public comment. Time to comment on matters that are not on tonight's agenda. Topics for public comment cannot include any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or private student issues. The board cannot enter into any discussion during general public comment. The board may occasionally ask questions to clarify public comment. Is there any public comment? All right, we'll move forward then with the approval of minutes, and Linda has been hard at work on providing some minutes here. And let's start first with minutes of the July 8th regular board meeting. And we're in the packet there. We have special board meeting. So, are there corrections, Linda, anything you need to share with us about these minutes?
No, I fixed the corrections that were brought to our attention and emailed those out, so
All right.
as long as everybody has taken a look at those.
All right, the chair will, floor is open for a motion.
I'm going to approve the July 8th minutes as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Then move to second, Stephanie and Tony, all those in favor of approving the July 8th minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. July 17th, special board meeting minutes. One page of minutes. Floor is open.
I move to approve the July 17th minutes as presented.
Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Jennifer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carries. July 28th, special board meeting minutes. We'll start first with work session, and then there was a special board meeting also on that same day. Work session, July 28th.
I move to approve the July 28th, 2025 special, not special, but work session minutes as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Tony. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Last set of minutes, special board meeting, 2:30 PM, July 28th.
I move to approve the July 28th special board meeting minutes as presented with corrections.
Okay, everybody's good on corrections? Right. It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Tony. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. So that moves us then into there. All right, claims, and we've got, most of our claims here tonight. I've got a claim summary, and then we've got our visa payments and student accounts within our consent agenda tonight. So we've got, claims 42663 through 42706 for a total of $123,227.64. And then there are two claims on the table in front of everybody. Is that right, Linda, or is it-
That is in front of everybody, and that is included in your claim approval on your summary I gave you.
Wonderful. Super appreciate that. So in front of you is our payroll type claims, one for durable life, one for must for dental and vision, for the district's contribution of those. And then, of course, the regular list of claims, 577. So are there board questions about claims? Frank?
I just had a question about K-12 Montana. It's kind of how the Is that an annual thing that we do to K-12? One is 23,000, one is 26,000.
Correct. That is the contract we have with the third party K-12 Montana, which gives us a certain amount of support each month.
The $23,000 one is 23,600 is the new installation of the
Oh, the
cameras that Dave Tennis had quoted before he departed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Questions? Public questions or comments on the point? Right, seeing none, the chair will entertain the motion. This is for claims 42663 to 42706.
I'll make a motion to accept claims as presented.
Is there a second? Moved by Fran, seconded by Tony to approve claims 42663 through 42706 for a total of $123,227.64. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Tonight's consent agenda is organized into two sections: credit card payments, student accounts, and then employment. Items on tonight's consent agenda have been organized as such due to their similar nature. It's been deemed unlikely that superintendent board chair requires individual discussion. Any trustee has the right to request that an item be removed from the consent agenda and be debated and acted on by itself. Does any trustee wish to remove an item from tonight's consent agenda? All right. At this time, is there any board comment or question about section 1 of the consent agenda, the claims and accounts? Okay. Is there any public comment on claims and student accounts? Let's see. These are visa payments and the student accounts that we. All right, very good. Moving on to the employment section of the consent agenda, we have 22 hires. These include staff as well as a lot of stipend positions that run our co-curricular and extracurricular activities. We're grateful to have these folks. And there are 5 resignations on tonight's employment section. Does any trustee have any questions or comment on the employment section? Is there any public comment on the employment section of our consent? All right. Trustee approval of the consent agenda only pertains to those items that trustees legally have the right to approve under Montana 2-3-202 of MCA. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda as presented? Seeing none, consent agenda is approved. That moves us on to item number 6 of our agenda, which is our informational items, starting first with our superintendent's report, and we're excited to hear from Mr. Conan, now 6 weeks on the job.
Thank you, Chairman Meyer and trustees. This month's board report goes through some sections that one kind of outline a little bit about what's going on in August and September for meetings where I am at, anywhere from our regular board meetings to facility policy resource board meetings and committee meetings and BVEC, Western Mass, just a whole bunch of different committees. So just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of most of those are all reoccurring meetings that happen each month. And then we wanted to be able to highlight some of the things that were going on over the summer. I want to give a big shout out to both maintenance and ground and our technology support workers this summer. Maintenance and grounds went through a whole host of improvements to our school over the summer, and our grounds have them listed anywhere from helping support fixing the softball roof and installed benches to getting 2 new ADA door openers in the NPR, helping support with power for the cameras at the elementary school. Some of these are done every single summer, like the boilers torn down and summer maintenance conducted on them. Of course, getting the rooms cleaned and schools ready to go. are a big priority. Walking into the schools, it's been a source of pride for me to walk in and see so well clean, especially when I walk in the middle school office, and the way they did that floor when they put it in, and then the shine they have on it makes it look fabulous. But there's a lot of places around our school like that that look fabulous after they get really cleaned well. And we had obviously some more cleaning to do and ground stuff to do before some of our first contests going on. So we do have some maintenance out in the fields coming up. And technology-wise, transitioning from Caleb, who interesting, he is used to be technology for us. He's moved into a role with K-12. So he actually mentored or helping support Orion when Orion came in. It's kind of nice to be able to have someone that was previously in that position to be able to help support that, all the jobs and tasks that need to be done over the summer. We listed several of those on the report as well. One piece that made me realize that Orion was the right guy for the job. About 4 o'clock on a Friday, I get this call from Orion, and Orion says, just need your opinion on what to do here. Coding for Kids starts on Monday. They have new software that needs to be uploaded on the computers, and it's 4 o'clock on Friday. This starts on Monday. And I said, well, when was the request put in, right? Want to know how long it was. And he said we had just gotten everything ready to go on from them that Friday. And so I said, that's really hard turnaround to be able to do that by Monday. And so I kind of gave him the out to be able to say, hey, we will get that to it on Monday as fast as we can to get kids up and running. That's where I thought I left it. And Orion stayed and got all the computers ready to go for kids on Friday night. So kids were successful starting Coding for Kids on Monday with what was the name of the software they were using?
Minecraft Education Edition.
Right. Made a lot of kids happy with being able to do that. So I want to acknowledge Orion for stepping up and getting ready for kids. Last thing I want to update on is, well, a couple more things. One is the strategic plan update. We're going to get to that later today. There's a couple items that I specifically pointed out that are in the strategic plan that was created in 2022. We've included the profile of a graduate, which is something that has been worked on by stakeholders within the district and outside the district that is now inside of that strategic plan. And that profile of a graduate talks about the characteristics that we want to see as a student graduates from our school district. We also included the 25-26 goals and objectives. There's 8 objectives there. And we also updated some out-of-district policy from recent legislation this last summer. And we're able to put that into the strategic plan as asked. And so those are the 3 big items that are changes for the in the strategic plan. We'll get more in detail later in our board meeting when we go for approval of that. Human resources update. Always nice to know how many positions we are still trying to fill before school starts. We have one more middle school assistant volleyball coach that we need. Still need a high school boys soccer assistant coach. We're still looking for at least 3 custodians, high school assistant cross country, and middle school media specialist. As you know, our current media specialist took the position as middle school secretary, Kate Cowell, and which opens up that position. She was on a provisional license for that, and we are opening it as a certified. We have to open it as a certified position, just so everyone knows that. And we are currently taking applications in, and we have 3 so far outside of the district, and we'll probably be doing some interviewing this week. And I would, at the end of the meeting, I'd like to recommend that we do a special board meeting to get a couple more people hired before school starts. We can talk about that date later, but it'd be nice to be able to get some of these positions filled. Update on the high school parking lot. We are preliminary okayed by MRL, but they have stipulations they want to put into, an engineer wants to put into a letter to us. I've been checking in with Joe Gentry from Montana Rail Link pretty much every day or every other day for the last couple of weeks here. I'm trying to let them know that school does start on the 25th. And if we're going to do this, it'd be great to have it done before school starts. So just for the safety of our kids and the congestion that we're trying to do and have that all done. It's going to be close. We're still waiting. He said he will, today he told me he will hurry them along. I don't know what that means, but I will be in contact with them again before the end of the week to see where we're at. We did schedule the painting and sealant for the parking lot, which will be next week, 19th through the 21st. They might be able to get done faster than 3 days, but it's all weather dependent. And they will be coming back. If our parking lot is not done, they'll be coming back, and they've reassured us they'll come back and finish the painting on a new part of the parking lot that is going in. So that is kind of an update on where we're at. Any questions on any of that information?
So we're all good to go on the city part of that, right? Of the parking lot, or we got to move the stop sign.
Move the stop sign, yeah.
Do we need to re-engage the city on that? They were agreeable, but then everything got put on hold. Can we just do it? Do we have to prove here, or do we need them?
I will find.
City council acted on approved moving of it, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to touch base with Bob.
Okay.
He asked me the other day.
I would think we could do the work. Agreeable to that. Set on it, so.
Other questions for superintendent?
Mr. Clemens, just going back to your very busy meeting schedule. I was wondering if you consider, when we do committee summaries in the board packet, if we could add in any relevant information from the school-based committees, the technology, the SIT team, the safety committee.
Sure, include those in the board report, yeah.
All right, are there questions from the public for the superintendent's report? Thank you, Mr. Convery. I think that carries us to item 6B, which is we have combined together informational review of the middle school and high school handbook. And those are in front of everyone tonight. So, Mr. Armour, Mr. Payne, ready to wow us.
I don't know about wow. Apologize in advance to you guys for standing in front of you. Bad side, I don't have a good side of the But, so really, we're gonna talk about the handbook, did a lot of work in the handbook. A lot of people really helped out with this, and we give a lot of kudos to our staff. We got a bunch of, we'll see all the sections, but staff jumped in and helped with individual sections that they felt was their areas. My secretary, Laura, did a phenomenal job of making it look professional. All right, believe me, that's not what it looked like when I handed it to her. All right, so looks really good. So I'm really proud of the work they were doing. If you'll see, that's what the new cover of the handbook looks like now. All right, in front of you guys, put one that also has the QR code. All right, so you're gonna see that one of the themes is trying not to print a 90-page handbook hundreds of times, right? So each staff could literally have that sheet on their classroom, and they could then direct them to that QR code, right? So that was really important for us to be able to fix that format and then to address a couple of these things. So my plan talking to you guys today, we talked about why we made the format changes we made, specifically address some items that I know have been talking points, all right? What are we doing with the cell phone policy? How are those things, how's that working this year? Changes to procedures for weekly eligibility. All right, these are gonna be the issues that parents would talk to you about because those are changes that affect them directly. All right, what do we do with our bell schedules, as well as, again, all right, let's talk specifically about procedures for the Alternative Learning Center. It's all in the handbook, so we'll talk about it as handbook, but provide specific time to talk about, answer those kinds of questions about what changes were made to be able to ensure that we're on the route we all want to be. Okay, so the reason for revision, all right, revised format. We wanted some of our handbook items to be able to stand alone. For example, if you came to the athletics meeting on the 5th, Mr. Stell did a fantastic job of presenting the handbook to the parents. But this QR code was actually up on the screen, so parents were able to just take a picture of it and reference it there. Now they have a digital copy of that piece. It's only the section 4, the athletics piece. All right, so at this point, we can pull different sections. If we just want to talk about behavior, we can look at behavior. We can look at ALC as a separate category. So we have a document now that allows you to be much more fluid and a lot easier to be able to work with. We hope we're saving on printing, and it allows us to link this, so as our parents are signing virtually for Infinite Campus, they're signing their handbook documents, all right, they're able to actually look at what they're signing. All right, they don't have to come in and pick up a copy of their handbook and then go back and see if they signed it. They can reference it right there and right now. So with no further ado, there is our handbook. All right, you guys got a copy of it already. Apologize for that, that was very long, all right? And even since then, what I like about that is some of the feedback we've got, some of our stuff has already been able to be updated. So this allows us to be able to update and change in a timely manner without having to go through the entire reprint process anytime someone finds a typo or something like that. As a parent, all right, I would like the function of this when I open this up, because I can go to a table of contents. My table of contents, I now have an idea of where these items are gonna be found. All right, so for example, if I wanted to just look at the athletics handbook, I could simply go to section 4 of the athletics handbook, and it would take me directly to that section right there. Within that section, I can see what the topics are gonna be. Why do we do this? What's our philosophy? What are our objectives? What do we do with the bullying and athletics? So all of those items are links so that somebody can simply jump onto those. Okay. Any questions on the format changes? I feel like those are positive changes. I feel like this is a positive move forward for our community. That's good. Okay, cell phone policy. All right, last year, all right, a lot of teacher discretion. Teacher discretion of the expectation was that we're not using cell phones unless we need to be using cell phones, or the lesson dictates that it's going to be used. All right, it's a good idea in theory, it's a good idea in practice, all right, but if you walk the halls or you went around, you would see that there were some times where there was some cell phone usage that maybe wasn't instruction specific, but was more timekeeping. All right? Allowing students to be on there because there wasn't something wrong with that lesson, all right? That's on me. That has to be different. You know, when you walk in and you look at a room and you see a cell phone, assuming it's instructionally based, but I learned, you know, don't assume. Now we're gonna ensure that it's instructionally based. So for this upcoming year, we're pretty much putting the onus on us, the administration. All right, so the teachers don't have to choose to be nice guy or the mean guy. Administration said you're not using your cell phones anymore. If a cell phone absolutely is essential, and there are gonna be some times, you have a really cool multimedia class, I can't wait when this thing rolls out. But some of it's social media. Kids will be posting things, kids will be grabbing videos, you know, pulling videos from Huddle, pulling videos from things, and making these amazing stuff happen for our kids. They need a cell phone to do that too. Right? Josette, we've talked about being able to do drones. All right, that's very much an ag center type of thing that they do now. A lot of those drones operate on a cell phone. So being able to use that. Those would be examples where a teacher would submit to me the lesson plan and the rationale of why I have to use a cell phone to do this, and then I would approve it, and then I would be good going forward with it. Okay, I would know why that cell phone was being used. Questions on that? Okay. Challenges. Initially, we'll have a little more conflict. You always do whenever you tighten stuff up. We'll have a little more conflict. It'll be very important that students have their Chromebooks ready and charged. Because the backup has been the cell phone. If the Chromebooks weren't ready, if the Chromebooks weren't charged, kids were able to do the same exact thing on their cell phone. So by taking that backup away, we put a little more emphasis on, you've got to have your stuff ready. I do think there are benefits. I think that focusing on the end of the class period, making sure our closures are stronger, that's going to be a benefit to our kids. All right. Giving them just some chances to work on their self-discipline and creative learning. So, any questions on the cell phone policy? Put links in here because you can go to that and it will take you directly to that portion on the cell phone policy. We try to be very black and white with lining out when they can use it and when they cannot use it. In other words, if they're using it without teacher discretion, it better be lunchtime. That's the time we will. Athletics. Last year, 2.0 was our marker. So just to recap for everybody, athletics, MHSA requires 4 passing grades. All right, let's say the previous semester they had to pass 4 classes. If they did that, they're eligible to compete. In Stevensville, you have to maintain that, but each week we want to maintain that those students are being successful, all right? Because they theoretically could compete for a whole semester, fail all their classes, but then not be able to compete moving forward. We want to prevent it. We also want the states to graduate. So the policy is going from a 2.0 to an F. They have an F, they go on academic probation, all right? And then we try to support them in that week to get that F up, all right? Support looks different to everybody. To us, support looks like you're not going off campus for lunch today. You're going to this room and you're going to work on that missing work so you can get that grade up, all right? Littlest things we can do, but it's a way to try to hold them accountable for those grades, all right? The reason I like the F is it matches our goal of credits at the high school. You know, 2.0 is great, but if your 2.0 is 4 really high A's and 3 F's, that's not helping you graduate, all right? So the no F's is ensuring we're getting the credits, okay? So that's why, and I think it's simpler for parents, all right? I did a lot of math last year teaching kids how to figure out a 2.0. All right? F's is pretty straightforward.
That be AD or that will that be a question?
This one right here, now that it's like this is actually much simpler on us, all right? So we can pull a grade report by F's. If a student has more than 1 F, all right, we can I'll send that list out to the coaches and we can do that. This requires a lot less work to try to figure it out, and the turnaround is really, really fast. Coaches can look at it. All right, coach can say, we see your grades, look at the grades, it's evident. Every coach knows what an athlete's like, right? So you can manage that with your kids.
So any kid with an F, any F, and you do not do not in sports that week.
No, the first week you're on probation. The first week, it's kind of like you're in trouble, Johnny. That person competes, that person practices, that person is just, we're hounding them to get their grade up so that they're not in the same boat the next week. If it happens the next week, they practice, but they do not compete. Okay, so if you want to see that language is right there. Section 4, the athletic handbook, and it lines up with the eligibility requirements. Yes.
So is that support also available to non-students who are not involved in activities and athletics?
I will let any kid stay inside and work on
Well,
homework.
I guess it's not a measure for enforcement, but will teachers lean in that same way, like, or will it be mostly applied to students?
I would hope, we're encouraging kids to come in and work on that. It's not maybe it should be a point of emphasis for this discussion right now. This is that.
There's not a carrot involved.
The carrots are gonna play, that's what they,
Exactly, but for a non-activity student.
yeah, convince them to pass your classes, get your credits, don't come to summer school, all those
Yeah.
things, right? Yes,
Can I ask the question real quick?
yes.
So when my boys were in school, we had this old version. One of the issues we had once in a while, you would get a teacher that would enter stuff in, but not have stuff graded or whatever, so it really created some stressful situations, I'll call it, at home, between. Nice slide. It created some, I guess, stressful situation at home and certainly too. Now, I was on board when we implemented this, right? So I understand it, I fully agree with it. I don't know how to get the teachers to make sure that they're keeping up on putting grades in and grading stuff, so they don't punish the kids. And ultimately parents.
I understand. Let me see if this works. Let me go back to our handbook. Go back to our table of contents. And think it's academic policies. And let's find grading. I could be in the wrong spot. Finger my peeps, exactly where to go.
And I'm looking right out for you.
Okay.
And you can just control search the whole document for reading. Control that.
There's a chart. And basically, it's to try to, because your issue is there, right, to try to do that. Like if they were gone for one day, they have this much time to do, it's in there.
I saw that, exactly that.
I have mine under athletics, section 4.
It might be there too, okay. But anyway, we did try to put some parameters in place, that is, holding the staff as accountable as
Yes. That's also why we don't start until the third week of school. I'll start to speak on this. So middle school will be following this eligibility requirement where students can have no Fs, and then if they do have an F and they go on probation, very similar, or exactly how the high school is doing it, but we won't check grades until the third week of school. And I've told my students that if you are, I'm telling my teachers that if a student is failing your class and you haven't inputted 1 or 2 grades and you're not inputting enough grades. So it opens a conversation for me to have with the teacher, and looking at that before we're calling the student down, before we're calling parents to say your student isn't eligible. That's the other reason why, I don't know if you spoke on this, but you guys are doing your checks on Wednesday. So you'll be able to pull and have a conversation with teachers before you pull grades on Wednesdays too.
I wanted to point this out, because I know it was a question that was asked last year, coaches handbooks. So that's our coaches handbook for 25-26. So we do have a coaches handbook, very aligned to what you'll see in section 4. One of the things we're going to be doing on the 20th, all right, so the 20th, there's 2 reasons I bring that date up, is we're inviting all of our coaches from the district for the whole season, for the whole year, to join us as a staff that morning when we do our breakfast, right, that first day back. All right, but we're gonna sit down and go over the important things, what it means to be a coach, what are the things you have to do, and so forth. And one of those items is giving them an opportunity to look over the handbook, and if we need to make any revisions specifically to the coaches handbook, we want to be able to get the coaches input at that time to be able to do some of that. Okay, so that's the coaches handbook. Yes, like maybe publicly, I don't know. It can be, but I can be. Okay. Send it to you. Absolutely. All right.
I just wanted to point out too, that we have to teach our kids to advocate for themselves, not saying that that doesn't happen in this situation. I just know that with COVID, with my son, there were a couple of times where those grades weren't in there, right? And so if he went to the teacher and they put that it was turned in, even if they didn't have time to grade it, then it wouldn't count to their grade. So we also need to teach our kids that they need to advocate for themselves. If they go and have a conversation with the teacher will make a change if they say, hey, here's my paper, I promise I turned it in. So that's another piece of that, is teaching them to advocate for themselves so that they can have that life skill and to have
The other reason I brought up the 20th was to remind me to invite you. That's our freshman orientation, all right? And last year, you guys so generously helped us flip burgers and serve lunch to our incoming 9th graders. So if you would like to do that again, that invitation will be coming your way on the 25th. Oh, the 25th. Thank you, Trevor. 25th. I want to start a week early. I'm ready to go.
They are not.
I just think it meant- Changes to bell schedules. The main thing with the changes to the bell schedules was syncing up the high school and the middle school bell schedules so they are the same, exactly the same. It helps with the teachers who are shared staff. More importantly, it helps on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Last year was a challenge at lunchtime when we had times when our older kids were eating with some of our younger kids. We've been able to eliminate that, so the new bell schedule won't have our older kids eating with our younger kids on those 2 days. I think that's going to be a positive change. Bringing up jacket news time, all right? That's going to be one of our new classes that's unique in the fact that that class will be creating the school yearbooks, the high school yearbook, and the middle school yearbook. You will have high school kids, a small group of them, and a small group of middle school kids who are working on some of these same projects together. So you will have a course that's got high school and middle school kids in together. That class is taught by Aaron Schaefer. That's going to be a pretty cool class. You're going to see YouTube news, all right, which is how the news is going to be broadcast each and every day. And so when you see that time slot, all right, where it says Jacket News, I think there's going to be a name for that. But that's what that is. While we're doing that, middle school is doing advisory. I'm talking about advisory real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So that multimedia class is mixed with middle schoolers, but it's going to be an 8th grade only class. And they have been hand selected, or not hand selected, but it's been students that I feel comfortable sending over to the high school, and they feel like are mature enough to go over to the high school and have proven that they can earn that time working with high schoolers. So I'm excited about this class. We will be doing advisory again. Last year, we only had it on Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays, and now with this new schedule, we'll have it 20 minutes, same time right before lunch. It'll be the time for this Jacket News. I'm really hoping they go with Swarm Report. So if you have students taking that class and you want to let them know about that name, I'm hoping they go with that. So they'll give their news. We'll do updates. And then the middle school, we're really trying to do that advocacy piece. You are getting on Infinite Campus. We're doing grades checks if you've got missing assignments. That's why I'm excited about the eligibility policy being simpler of no Fs, because even middle school students can get on and see, I have an F, what's going on, am I missing assignments? And then we're also going to be incorporating a new life skills curriculum. I just met with Bitterroot Cares Coalition, and they are providing this curriculum to us totally free. So they're donating that to us, and then they are going to be bringing in educators to work with our counselor to do some of these life skills during the advisory time. And then the last thing about our advisory time, sorry, I'm very excited about it because it's the second year and things really just kick up the second year of a new program. We have another new elective for 7th and 8th graders called our leadership class, and they will actually be teaching the 6th grade advisories. So they are going to be taking on some more leadership roles, and we've encouraged all students. So it's not just your students that are going out for student council, it's our students that aren't involved in anything, but they have leadership skills. And so they'll learn public speaking skills. Like I said, they're going to totally run the 6th grade advisories and be kind of mentors to the 6th graders. And so I'll be giving you updates in my middle school board report with that new class. Yeah.
For reference, middle school handbook and high school handbook are going to be extremely similar in format. There's not a whole lot of issues that are that different when it comes to policy and procedure. You can reference the middle school handbook as well, but the short version of what's different, all right, is a few less sections. For example, the middle school doesn't have the student government section, and obviously they don't have the ALC section. Okay. For the most part, though, everything is almost the same.
I would say the only change that I know we will be talking to our middle school students and sending out to parents to make sure that we match board policy with cell phones. There's very specific language, I think it's policy 3630, that says students that are not grades 9 through 12 cannot use cell phones or electronic devices at lunch. So we were allowing it at lunches last year, but I'm very excited to not allow cell phones at lunch for middle school students. So 6 through 8 we'll be getting used to when you get to school, that cell phone goes away and you are not grabbing it until 3:30. I'm excited for it because I think there'll be a lot more engagement during lunch and recess this year. But other than that, I do have to give massive kudos to the high school team. This is the beauty of having an amazing admin team because they put this together. Mr. Caney shot it over to me and I just edited it for middle school and it's wonderful. And then elementary is going to be aligning with middle school. So it'd be great to have that consistency. Yeah. So thank you, high school.
Okay. So before we move on, questions so far, very handbook specific questions. Questions? Okay, let's talk about ALC. All right, so ALC is section 18 in your handbook. Trying to do a summary of what's different, but you can yourself dive in and see what's different. Just to give a little context, the reason we're here, all right, is concerns over the accelerated rate by which kids were able to graduate. All right, kind of got us a little bit of a pickle, and we had some early graduation, and it was very clear to us that that was not the intent of what we're trying to do with that program right there. All right, so we went back to the table, all right, and we reconfigured some things. Definitely reconfigured the application process, and one of the biggest pieces that I think is going to be impactful is a committee of high school staff. All right, so right now we have 27 students who are enrolled and ready to go to ALC. We have a waiting list of about 6. We have space for 3 more. Put 3 more in there. All right, those 3 will not go in there until after our committee has convened. All right, so we are going to roll this out with this upcoming cohort of kids. So they'll have to go through that committee. What that committee is you have a counselor, of course, all right? You have the teacher at the ALC, and then you have teachers who volunteer to sit on this committee from the high school, okay? And so you'll have, I think it's about anywhere from a 6 to an 8 member team, and they'll talk about, is this kid the right fit? Even if this kid is the right fit, is this kid the right time? All right, there may be some kids who are the right fit that are sophomores, but there may be a senior who's the right fit, and that senior is going to get priority because we're trying to graduate kids. So it allows that committee to go through these applications and rank these kids and make sure we put them in the right order so that the right kids are getting placed in there. So that's a big change right there, I believe. All right. The other big change is with our proficiency. All right. We now, and I'm excited, I can talk all day, you guys. I'm sorry. All right. With IXL, all right, we have proficiency exams that we're rolling out. All right. We just set our windows for IXL, so there will be testing beginning of year, middle of year, end of year. Those same proficiency exams that they take in Algebra 1 class at the main campus, they will take at the ALC CAT class. All right, so it's about what are they able to do. Right? This will be great for us to be able to compare the quality of learning and be able to see what's happening there. All right, so definite emphasis on proficiency. Whenever there's exams on courses that are the same at both places, we're going to try to share those courses. All right. Yes, sir.
In order to be proficient in a specific class, what's required? At the ALC, 70%?
So 70% of overall, to be proficient on a class, it's 70%. The only class that is weird when you look at it in the handbook is the math. It says it's a 100% proficiency on MTDA, all right, which is the online math that they take. The reality is MTDA requires them to get all of the questions correct before they can move on to the next one. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Digital Academy.
The Montana Digital Academy, yes. All math there is MTDA. Greater clarity on graduation. So there's language in there that is very clear to the students when they can graduate, when they will not graduate. All right, and part of what helps with that clarity is the big change is that students at the ALC are not allowed to take their senior English or their senior government class until their senior year. All right, and we allow some students to take it earlier, and that allow them to graduate earlier. That will not happen again. So very clearly laid out that those will be, it's very possible, and this happens at the high school too, that students, that's all they have to take. All right, but those students will at least have to take it, stay through that first semester, and then graduate with their cohort. Questions on that? And then descriptions on if a student is in activities, how do you measure eligibility while you're attending the ALC? All right, students at the ALC take classes, one class at a time. All right, so pretty simple. If you got an F, you're not eligible, right? But in this case, the measurement is that you have to be passing the class and you have to be on track. All right, because one class at a time, a student really needs to be doing a class about every 3 weeks. 3 weeks get to this class, the next 2 weeks go to the next class, the next 2 weeks go to that class. So they have to be on track. And remember, they had to have passed 4 classes the previous semester in order to meet NHSL guidelines. Okay, so that's what's a little different with that.
So, and that's making a lot of sense to me, as you said it, so I just want to make sure it continues to make sense. So, the on-track piece. So, if a student applies, meets all the committee criteria, is granted access to the ALC, and is coming in because of unfortunate circumstances of being, let's just say, badly off track, and the ALC is the right answer to get them back on. They're not activity eligible until they've dealt with that backlog, and then they're getting a good place. Am I understanding that right?
Not exactly.
Okay.
That's not how I would say. You've got a student who, it's very possible, you have a student who is credit deficient, right? But because of some of the work they did that got them to 4 passing classes, right? They're now athletics, MHSA eligible, right? So they would be able to compete on Montana standards, if that makes sense. So you could have somebody who's doing that and trying to recover classes at the same time, which if you look at the on there who would be able to participate, all right, they're gonna fit that exact model. All right, these would be students who will be eligible to, just if you do math, right? If you took 3 semesters and you got 4 credit, that's 12. But 12's not getting you graduation. But 4, 4, and 4 could get you to play sports all the time. Does that make sense? So this is your way of letting a kid participate in the sport, which is why that kid's getting up every day and coming to school at all, but also allowing A and C in order to try to recover the credits so that kid can graduate while they're playing sports. There are some kids who come to school because of that. So we want to maintain that we have that process. Make sense? Any questions on that? Sit down. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. That, are we doing more on handbook or just wrap this up?
Are you good, Angie? Ms. Armour? Okay.
Unless you have any questions. But it's very similar to high schools, except for the 2 things that you talked about.
Well, thank you. As we're both wrapping up there, my confidence to the work that's been put into it, the digital organization, yeah, it's massive this way. Am I understanding right that there's sign-offs on this happening through campus a little bit or more digital?
Yes,
That's
so,
okay as well?
yep, when parents get to the last screen of online registration, there's a checkbox that says, I have read through the student handbook, or I'm aware of the student handbook, they check it, and there's another window where they have to hit sign and date.
My only comment is, yeah, this is a little masterwork that you guys did, it's amazing. The strength of this admin team that we have is when you guys see a disconnect, you don't really just like kind of bridge it together. You're like, well, let's just blow it up and like make something else. So, I didn't understand, when I read this, I was like, holy cow, this is like a useful tool now, and I was really, it was engaging, I found it useful, I was like, I thought I'm gonna print out a copy and have it somewhere, but no, I can't do that. But it's just so useful, it's not just a reference when you have like a weird question, right? So this is such a useful tool, thank you for all the hard work, it carries the same energy as all the curriculum work, and it carries with it the district alignment that feels like it's embedded in just like everything, every project we've got together, so thank you. Work, and I think it's gonna keep going.
Yes.
Just to reiterate, one of the main reasons why I chose to apply for the superintendent job was the fact that we had a really good administrative team. And our first day was to get all together was yesterday with a retreat that we did to connect to our handbook stuff. We're going through our handbook and looking at the cell phone policy and making sure we were able to meet what's in the school policy, what's going to be in our handbooks. And it was nice to be able to bring it up in this format. And these guys were able to edit, reword, and discuss it before bringing it to you, which I felt is a huge compliment to this admin team to be able to work together and create some documents, hopefully that will help guide us more clearly in the future. You'll hear a common theme of clarity, and so I really think that you have done a great job. The elementary one will be coming soon. Again, earlier I proposed a special board meeting for a possible hiring of some new teachers. That would be a good time to do the elementary when we come up with a date for that. So I know Ryan and Sierra will be on board to get rolling with that piece of it. So again, thank you, administrative team, for the time you put into this. I feel like it's something that we can continue to keep refining and changing as policy changes too.
I just want to make a quick comment. I was gonna save it for the end, but then a lot of people to explain something. This is amazing. Like, I've been in this district for 11 years, and this is the most cohesive I have seen in administration. So kudos to you guys. I mean, even to the point on Facebook today, there were some comments, and someone from the district office answered the question, and the parent was ecstatic that everything got taken care of. And we just don't see that all the time in Stevensville. There's a lot of negative that goes on social media. So kudos to you guys, that y'all have come together as a team, and that y'all are functioning as a team, and y'all are bringing our school district onto the next level. I am so excited for Stevensville and what is going on our campus, and just thank you for rallying around our community and pulling our community together, not only our students, but the entire community together.
Thank you.
I'll circle back on something quick. I'll do a quick circle back on the cell phone thing, because I don't think it got the attention that maybe it deserved. Thank you for work on that. It's been brought up, I think we all kind of got caught there and didn't comment on that, because we have commented on it a lot, and now you're taking direction on it. My only comment would be two-part. One, thank you for not making it the teacher's issue. I think that's research shows that's the problem nationwide, is when it's one teachers versus the other. My follow-up to that would be, is there anything we can do? We don't have to answer tonight, but through policy, through thoughtful, crafting of what we do at the board, that we can make it not your issue. You don't have to be back at it. Make it the board's job. We're happy to do that.
Being policy is what's wonderful.
Well, and if there's more that needs to it or something, bring that through policy committee. We don't want to see you guys be back at it. I think I'm happy to be at it. But, it seems like the data just keeps adding up that, across that arc of where we thought cell phones in the classroom could bring all this value to it, and there's all these ways to use it, and now it doesn't seem to be so compelling. They're just not there. And the psychosocial drama that comes with it is hard. So thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if this is appropriate in this. How many schools and how can we influence the change in the Montana High School Association so that their standards at least require something that you could graduate on? If you only require 4 passing grades and the rest can be Fs in the Montana High School Association, that means there's kids playing all over the state that really aren't even graduate from school. How can we affect change? And do we have any influence in that?
I'll answer this one, probably not the way you want me to. I know that it's a concern, but I would think if you really dove into the data on kids who are in activities, their GPA is almost 1 point higher than non-participants. And so we put a lot of restrictions on the athletics, on our activities and things like that. But the reality is our athletes and our kids who are participating in our co-curricular, they score so much higher. They do so much better already. And so I don't know that it's an epidemic of a bunch of, I don't really think it is. I don't think it's an epidemic of kids who are participating in sports who are not passing or not graduating. I actually think it's the reverse. I think those kids who do participate and who are having higher GPAs and are graduating at a higher rate. So I think that's good news, Tom.
Well, I assume that would be the case. I just thought, why are the bar so low? We just consideration.
I think part of that, to me, goes back to what Steve said, Mr. King. The kids that are struggling, the only reason they're coming to school is not going to sports. And so if we can keep them in school through sports, and I haven't always felt like this, I'll just say that upfront. If we can keep them in school through those sports, we have a better chance of educating them and encouraging them to be educated. Otherwise, they're going to drop out of school and they're not going to come and they're not going to get educated. And so I think that, there's a medium that we have to find, and it's hard to find that medium. And I appreciate, Mr. Caney, that you pointed out about the 2.0 versus the F, because I didn't realize that until Cody pointed it out to me last year. He had peers that were excelling in some classes and failing in others, and they were still participating. And so they were hurting themselves in essence because they weren't at least pulling an E on some of their grades. So.
Is there any public comment, public questions as we wrap up our informational items? This would be the conclusion of all informational items tonight. Thanks all. Thanks again for the help. Item 7 is our last action item before we adjourn tonight. We have several action items. The first is the consideration of the sinking fund deposit reinvestment. This is our balloon payment of money to pay off middle school. It's coming up in June. And Mr. Conan, Mrs. Kearney, and Mr. Shealy have done quite a bit of work with this and are well versed in it. And Mrs. Ivor probably is too. So.
And you have new information that came about today that is
Yes,
on
turn it
your,
over to-
so yes. I apologize for the lateness of that, but we did give you each a copy of that on the table this evening. And I do want to recognize that we do have representatives from both banks here with us this evening.
Mr. Conan?
Sure.
Maybe to turn the floor over to you or
Sure.
Attorney, whoever is first.
Sure. Chairman Meyer and trustees, we have in front of us a decision to make here on what you have talked about with roughly $4.8 million that needs to be reinvested. It's a short amount of time period. We need for the money to be accessible in June of 2026 to be able to pay out that final loan. In the meantime, we can make some money while we reinvest it into CDs or high yields checking account. There's some options in front of you. I want to kind of take you through a little bit of the history so we're all on the same page with where we're at. Learned a lot in the last couple of weeks since July 28th. July 28th was our board retreat day. And at the end of the board retreat day, we had an hour of the board meeting and we invited both banks to submit ideas for reinvestment of that money. And so they came to our board meeting on July 28th and presented some ideas from both of them. And then following that meeting, we asked them to submit an official proposal for it. The proposals that came back in were a little bit different. They were the ones that were in your packet, the original ones in your packet. And then since then, we have received 2 more from both companies, both banks, of listing a new proposal for that use of that 4.8 million. And one of the things that I learned was we didn't seal our bids, which would have been helpful to say seal your bids and then have those come in and then be able to open them and read them. Second thing we could have done differently was to put a deadline saying we won't accept any bids after a certain date or time. We didn't do that. And so we received from one of the banks another bid today. And then I felt, to be transparent with the whole situation, that I need to tell the other bank that they submitted something, a new proposal. And so that bank submitted the same proposal. And so unfortunately, it's back in your hands to be able to determine what we want to do with this money.
On top of that, we also have around $300,000 on top of that CD that needs to be rolled over somewhere. We have an additional $300,000 to add on to that too.
Does it have a time date on it, like these do, or?
No, it's from our May money we had received in May that we need to then,
Money from the county?
yes.
So when we went back and reread the board minutes, the dialogue in there, we went back to the board motion because it was asked by us at the end of that meeting on July 28th to involve other banks in the community in there. When we went back and reread the exact motion that was made, the motion was made with just these two banks. So we did not reach out to any other banks besides these two banks that are here. So thank you for being here and being able to possibly answer some questions here in a little bit. When we deal with this kind of money and with banks in our own community, it's all about relationships, and we do have a relationship with both of these banks. And so the recommendation that I would make for you at the beginning of this dealt with the bids that were already in your packet originally. I had, I'll read my exact words that I had written when the first two bids were submitted. My recommendation is to either invest all the sinking funds with First Security at the highest rate possible and not split with another bank, because that would have left about $4,000 on the table if we were to split them. Or I said splitting the sinking funds with both First Security and Farmers State Bank is the other option. The first option has the highest return, and when the next CD matures, we then can invite all banks, and we'll add some of the language and procedures that we'd like to be able to collect bids in a more effective fashion. So knowing that, we have both bids come back in at 4.27. That is the decision that's in front of us today. Question?
Because I was not at that portion of the meeting on the 28th, so this may be something that everyone else is aware. Currently, are all our funds at First Security, or do we still have funds split between both First Security and Farmers?
That is correct. We have split between both. And actually, we have one that is coming due with Farmers, that we have with Farmers right now, that is expiring next month, that we will need to be looking at. Yes. Yes, we have. Yes. 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 We have one with Farmers that will expire in September and one in December.
And I'd like to just, for everybody's clarity, say if the folks who are here wish these banks to do a quick hello and introduction and for
Scott Halligan, Farmers State Bank, and I want to say I appreciate your approach very much. The bidding process was not something that so much. So,
Dominic Paxinos, First Security Bank, agree with Scott, that was a little bit convoluted at that meeting, and it was really, we all kind of walked out of it going, what just happened, you know, so, but yeah, obviously, trial and error. Thank you for giving me.
Jody, okay with Farmers State Bank?
Not tonight.
sorry. Tim Schreiber, Farmers State Bank.
Thank you, appreciate that, helps us up on the board here today.
So
So I'm just reading this language. Lauren, can you from First Security Bank? It just seems odd that we discussed this should allow us to retain the entire CD balance and banking relationship. When I read that, it seems like somebody discussed, we're gonna put this CD in the bank and then we're gonna continue with something besides just the CD. I don't know if it's just the way it got done, but I don't know. Doesn't make me feel all right.
Fran?
Tony, the way I take that is that we have CDs, if I'm correct, we have CDs at both banks. And so, but First Security is asking that they retain the money that they currently have in CDs and transfer it into the account that we're talking about, so that's the way that I'm understanding it.
That is the way I interpreted it.
Yeah.
That's the way I interpret it. So my follow-up question to that is, do we know the amount so that when we're voting, if we want to keep the prospective amounts with the prospective banks, what is the amount that we currently have with Farmers Social Security, and what is the amount we have with Farmers Food?
We had a table at that last.
Yeah, I didn't see that in my packet. I'll make a message.
Share.
Oh, that's-
Okay, share.
Oh.
I just promoted, right?
Yeah, no.
And then we have, and then Linda pointed out to us that we have an additional 300,000.
Yes.
Somewhere that is currently not anywhere, just in our. fund,
Yes.
right? Okay, thank you.
Jennifer?
Just, as far as banking, as someone who works in a different financial institution, having a banking relationship means that you have accounts and you use those accounts, and it's not, when I read banking relationship, it means that you have a relationship with them. I don't think there's anything negative about it, but unless you have things with them, you don't have a relationship. So I didn't see the negative connotation that Tony seems to have found.
Stephanie?
So by this is what I'm right now it's not exactly in balance, but we've got a split between the two. We've got 3.3 million in Farmers. Okay, first of all, when I started on this board, it did not look like we were gonna be able to meet our bond payment because interest rates were so low, so I'm really over the moon to be having this conversation. I think I'm having it right now, like, this is so positive and I'm elated. So, we've got about 3.3 million in Farmers, we've got about 4.8 in First Security. If we are to break up this 4.6 and then add on the 3, then using rounding numbers, so that they're all moving around. Then what it looks like to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but, we're basically just gonna like shift the balance around no matter what we do. There doesn't look like a great way to make it even Stephen, although I would love to. The strength to me of going with the money market account, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, is that when we have other CDs, if interest rates tank, we'll have a place where we can place those funds that have a stable and really good living interest rate, right? Versus keeping it, and that would be Farmers, where the money is. If we did the minimum amount in Farmers and then with the balance in for security, we take the, you guys don't follow me because I'm getting a little messy, but we basically flip that balance of where it's at, and instead of having 3 million in Farmers and 5 million for security, it would be 5.8 roughly in Farmers and 3 in for security. But doing that would give us that stability of having a money market account at that higher interest rate that we could use going forward and still keep money. And then we could look at what we're doing with the next ones.
Well done.
Really?
You nailed it.
Mr. Shealy. I feel like you've expertly guided the district through about, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 dozen of these reinvestments. Is that a fair statement? Do you have advice?
What's that?
Do you have advice? You have to see something work, not seeing, and point something out. You've done this, 6 months.
Whatever you guys decide, we'll figure it out. Then we'll figure it out, I think. I think Stephanie did a pretty round money there on her proposal. How much she wants to, for that money.
Step in.
Absolutely.
So one of the things, and as I'm getting at, the offers are kind of even. So I think one of the things that, I've been at Farmers 26 years, it's a long-term bank. So one of the things that I look at, and Dominic and the rest of you, but one of the things I look at from this perspective, it's local taxpayer money that's coming in and being invested, right? One of the things that I can, as president of the bank, assure you is that these funds get reinvested locally, right? So you make the deposit in, it gets reinvested locally, right? The First Security Bank is part of a larger 8-state bank system with 14 different divisions. It goes in First Security here, it goes out to 8 different states, right? So from a local community bank standpoint, I mean, that's my perspective. That working in a local bank is because it helps fund schools, scholarships, and all that stuff that we do for the schools too. So that's kind of the difference, whether it matters to you or not. That's kind of it. Okay, this is where the money goes.
Trap and True, we're based out in Missoula, as well by Glacier Bank. They're all individually chartered. We're not going to charter bank through set. So it does say here, we are all still local as well. That $4.885 million CD was really based out of Rocky Mountain Bank. Obviously, Rocky Mountain Bank was then sold to Glacier. We've had that CD for 7 months. Paid a lot more interest, got you to where you paid wrong. Just so you know, I mean, we're also local, we all live in the area. Just so.
Thank you.
I'm not a banker, and I'm going to abstain from this because of, but as a board member, what's best for my students, what's best for the school district, what's best, in my opinion, is what gives us the best return. We are going to have to pay off balloon payment for it. We're going to need everything that we have. And I sit here and listen. The bottom line to me is, what's going to generate the most revenue for the school district so we can mix it.
Thanks, Dan. And just so we're in full compliance on this, can you quickly articulate your reason for abstaining?
Yeah, sign first. First security bank.
Okay, all right, I think we need to have that clear based on our last meeting that we received, so I'll do the same. At this time, Billy, would you like to, can you clarify that?
Because I happily work for Farmers State Bank.
All right, so 2 of our trustees tonight are abstaining from the vote. That doesn't, use you. All right. For the board, public, or administrative comments, questions?
I do, and I may be wrong in this, but I do believe when we are doing a motion, we do need to include the additional 300 or so thousand in, so we have that directive, what we're doing with it. So.
And not to, I agree, and it's crossed my mind earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't say something. Maybe Bill, you can help. It seems like in the past, with the motion, we've been, which part was specific, down to the penny or the CD number? There was something we've always been super specific.
Just redo the CD, whatever, they have the dollar amount on the CD.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys have that dollar amount in front of you
On the table.
on the table, and then
On the table.
I don't have the exact. It's approximately
Yeah,
around
it's
300,000.
changed.
Correct that we have. Yeah.
Okay.
So are we doing the CD or are we doing business checking account?
I haven't done anything.
Or are we doing both?
No. But,
The reason I'm saying, asking that, because if it's a 12-month CD, it's gonna be due after the payment. Right. So are they gonna waive the late fee or the early
The-
withdrawal fee?
Early penalty fees.
right.
That was brought up in that 528 meeting that
Yes.
with the CD, it would be a 12-month CD.
Mhm.
Obviously, be able to be drawn of June, paid, when the bond is to be paid. There would be no early redemption penalty at all, so whatever day we take that out, that would.
And we have that, right?
Yes. I don't think it is.
All right, so asking again for board question, comment, public.
I would just say, to Stephanie's point, just to kind of reinforce what you're saying, the Feds, not Farmers State Bank, has projected a 50-point basis, 50 basis point drop by the end of the year. So the September CD and the December CD would potentially, in the money market, if rates did drop, that was a fixed interest rate, so you be able to get that way.
First Security Bank, Dominic, do you require the full amount for that interest rate?
No, I mean, on the 28th, we proposed our rates. It was different, obviously, something that says this morning there was a rate that beat that other rate to go into the money market account, didn't really give a whole lot of time. There was no time limit, obviously, no time deadline on being able to do that. We offer a 4.15% rate on our money market account as well. Which matched Farmers at the time.
Came back after.
Yeah, and again, that wasn't me, that was my fault. So, but again, it wasn't this morning, that we jumped rate. So, we did offer to match the 4.27% on the CD, for that, and I'm not saying, because I can't make this decision, but, we do have a money market account. So.
But if we put in, if we split this, there's not a minimum deposit required, just with the.
No, I don't, I would say there's not, that wasn't talked about, I would say that if it was, we discussed that in the meeting as well, but I don't, as far as I know, there wasn't a minimum amount. In there, we discussed cutting in half of that meeting as well, and then obviously it's, things can go into the next meeting, obviously, the other CDs are going to be sure, but I pose the question, are we going to be able to split those CDs down as well? So, if we're looking at, like you said, even Steven, is that ultimately what we're after, is to make sure that both banks have roughly the same amount of money? Is that kind of what it hasn't been that way in the past, so it's kind of new to hear that we're trying to even out between two banks. Just curious.
To even it, no, and it's nothing to do with what's happening. It's,
Well, I'm just curious, are we just moving money around, to move money around?
No, we're trying to get the best bang for our buck and.
Are we trying to get the best rate in return, or are we just moving money?
But it's more than rate, it's there's two different types of accounts.
And security. And security, so basically, you're locking in that full 27 on the money market until June of next year, of which you can add funds. So if rates do drop, you are being guaranteed that 4.27 to the money market.
For how long?
And
Perpetuity? Perpetuity?
So you need to use the funds, tell the bond.
So the bonds do.
Same as what the CD is guaranteed for the same amount of time, because you need to use the money when possible. I mean, it's the same.
But can you add funds to the CD? Can you, in December, can you add those funds to the CD at the same interest rate? Not the same interest rate?
We're not talking about that. We're talking about.
But that's what I'm
currently,
talking about.
We're talking about $4.885 million right now. I can't say what we're gonna be able to do in the future when it comes to. But as it sits right now, as of June 15th of 26, 4.27 is 4.27. If you can add money to a CD, you know, you can't add it to our CD, but if you add it to your money market account.
Absolutely.
Sure, but it doesn't matter considering the $4.88 million. It doesn't matter what they're gonna add to it. We're not talking about that, we're talking about it specifically the CD.
I don't think that's the case. I am guaranteeing the interest rate in December.
Okay, that's fine, but I'm guaranteeing the interest rate too, as you are right now.
In money.
Or the check, yeah, checking CD, I mean, we're guaranteeing a CD rate until June, they're guaranteeing a money market rate until June, is what they said.
But what I'm hoping there's clarity, this is what my goal is. There are future funds coming due in September and in December. I'm guaranteeing what those interest rates will be in September and.
Are you guaranteeing those rates only if you have the CD?
Yes, that is this offer.
So is that, because in here it says with any balance over 2.5 million, so if we left the 3.2 that you currently have with you, would that be in the money market at the 4.27?
It would have to be 2.5 of the, or, and I think in the last thing I said half, so if you had it's 4.8, it would do 2.4.
So you want you want an additional 2.4 brought over to farmers to
So,
guarantee this.
Yeah, so today,
Yes.
2.4, and in the future, that rate is available should you choose. I am not mandating that those future funds come to Farmers State Bank. I am strictly guaranteeing you what that interest rate will be.
Right, but to do anything with the 3.2 that you currently have, we would have to add an additional 2.4.
Yes, you would have to lock in today's interest rate, that's right.
Right, the floor is open for motion.
I have a motion, if we're ready. Right. I move to reinvest the funds from the CD 29000067,894 in the amounts of 2.5 million to the money market account at Farmers State Bank at the interest rate of 4.27%.
Sorry.
Motion's not over yet, so you take your second.
With the balance of those funds and, how do we want to phrase this? The taxpayer funds from the county. Do you want it quantified?
No,
Want
I
a
think
number or just refer to those?
Bill, do we need the exact number or just the funds that we have? Just the funds, yeah, that's what I thought too.
We just got a June report, so we're just bouncing it out.
Yeah.
And so there's a little over 300,000, so we would probably go 300,000.
Yeah.
We shouldn't.
Put it all.
We're not gonna put all the, because, yeah.
Yeah.
Less.
Yeah. That's why I use the words about 300,000. Yeah.
So with the balance of the CD funds and the approximate 300,000 from the county to First Security Bank CD at a rate of 4.7%. I like
Fair, it's your motion.
apologies, at the rate of 4.7%.
Thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Tony. Motion made by Stephanie, seconded by Tony. Is there discussion on the motion? Questions? There questions? Comment from the public? Administration? Good with wording?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Seeing no questions or comment, we'll clarify again that we have 2 board members abstaining, so we'll have 5 board members voting on this. And so with 2 abstentions already on the record, the remaining board members, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0 to invest the funds. All of you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Is, will the future bids will be sealed? Will that
Yes.
include our money market? At 4.27, will that be confidential information?
Well, because you said it's going to be 4.27 no matter what.
Yeah.
Because Stockman's is going to know our price. Well, if we raise it. That's why I proposed the question.
Yeah, but we will be moving forward with, as we had stated in our previous one, with offering it to other banks to step in, and we will be doing a sealed bid with a time ending on it, an end date on the offers. Yeah, thank you guys very much. We appreciate it.
Are we still friends?
You hear us at this point?
Yeah, no,
Not at all.
yeah,
Not at all.
thank you.
All right, okay. That was our first of 7 action items tonight. Our second is out-of-district enrollment, starting first with the elementary. In front of each trustee is a packet of out-of-district enrollments, and there are, all but one are elementary. And so, if you want to take a look at those. So the elementary ones are all stapled together, and give a couple minutes for everybody to look.
She's only ever had to make 10 copies. Okay, yeah.
Just so they can speak to them. Because they sign off.
Yes, yeah, because you're right.
Yeah, I do separate them out because they are by different principal, but they are all voted on together. Yes, yes. I separate them so the principals could, if needed to speak to them, could.
I have an unrelated question, somewhat unrelated. Are we just checking on where we're at with Harmony deadlines and out-of-district that? Is that?
So Harmony, we only have a couple of kids that are out of district, and they are from Lolo, and that is only because Lolo is not offering Harmony.
Okay.
Any of our others, now all of the Valley schools, to my understanding, are, they all went, so we sent them all back to their home district. Yes, yes.
The only change that we just found out this week is Hamilton is not moving forward with their Harmony
Oh, okay,
program
okay.
this year, so we may
make
of those.
trickle
We haven't
some in.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we do have a couple, yeah, but only because their district doesn't offer it.
Yeah, it doesn't offer. All right, are there any questions from the board? Is there a motion at this time?
Make a motion that we approve the elementary out-of-district enrollment.
Billy, is there a second? Moved by Billy, second by Tony. Dan, how do you vote? Tony, how do you vote? Fran? I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
And Billy?
Aye.
Motion carries. Elementary district elimination passes. Please set those out front so they can be properly disposed of. We have one high school out of district enrollment in front of you. And are there any questions about this one application? All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Jennifer?
I move to accept the administrative recommendation for enrollment of the non-resident high school student as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Jennifer, second by Stephanie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to this time to the consideration to continue our soccer co-op with Florence down the road. The MHSA has changed the rules a little bit and are asking schools that enter into these athletic co-ops to approve them annually now instead of every 3 years. Is that correct? All right, so we'll be annually approving this. I don't think there's any other change to the co-op arrangement. Something that doesn't have.
No, I would just recommend that we do it earlier in the year. So if we are going to change or stop, that there's time for any changes to take place in both districts. But again, the past procedure was you and the other district would get into a 3-year agreement so everyone knew once that 3 years is up, then you would vote whether to continue doing it for another 3 years. And so they have since changed it because of a lot of it due to enrollment of smaller schools changing all the time. They decided to go to a yearly basis. They recommend, but they only want acknowledgement of a dissolution of a co-op. They're going to continue thinking we have a co-op until we tell them different, is what I was told.
And I will, just for informational purposes, share with the board that up until this year, for quite a few recent years, Victor had asked to co-op with us, and we had approved that on a regular basis for soccer, wrestling, speech and drama, baseball, softball, all of those, and Victor did not want to co-op with us this year, and they approached both else. That co-op was dissolved. All right. Questions? Superintendent? Is there a motion? Grant?
I move to accept the cooperating agreement for soccer with Florence Carlton School District for 2025-2026. Second.
Moved by Fran, second by Jennifer. Further questions? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item D, for agenda item, which is the 25-26 general fund budget, starting first with the elementary. So, budget packet in front of us, and there's possibly a presentation as well.
Correct.
Give me a moment to get set up here.
That was, yes, I know.
Almost there.
You're sending
We
so
believe in
much
you.
positive energy your way, John.
Yeah, well, it's been requested that we take a short recess. But just yeah, a couple minutes, yeah. Where?
10 clicks left.
It's on. Should I pause it?
This is how secure we are.
I have to leave it and then rejoin it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will pick up with Superintendent Coleman and budget presentation.
What a great way to show the superintendent's technology skills. Just so you know, we started two-factor authentication just this last spring, and it is kind of a pain to do, but I can tell you a district not so far away from here this last spring had not implemented it yet. And an email got sent out to, over 100 districts on their server that got infiltrated. And so they now have two-factor authentication. So when I go home, I hear from her as well about, holy cow, you would not believe this two-factor authentication piece. Every time I log in, I have to do it. But once you do it on the computer and on it, then it does speed up sometimes when you have to redo it if you're sending it to a new computer. So anyway, enough of that. Let's start with general panel. So I've been lucky enough to work with Dave Tennis before he left, as well as working with Bill for the last couple of months on our budget. One of the nice things about being able to start working in some roles as superintendent before I actually started in July 1st was the fact of being able to sit down and talk with Dave about the budget process. We would ask Dave to come forward in one of his last board meetings with information about the budget. And so there are some pieces that when I first sent information out to you, I got calculated in the STARS Act money and as well as the offset from the tuition funds that we have. And so it made the budget a little wonky, like we were really below in the red. And so after doing that and verifying it, Bill through that piece of it, that was the last final piece that we had to verify to make sure that we had all the right money going into the accounts for the STARS Act. And so what I'm going to do today is kind of go through several pieces of the budget. You have a packet in front of you that I sent out with updated information in it. But we're going to talk a little bit about some of the trends that we're seeing inside the fund itself, as well as how that's connected to enrollment. We'll talk a little bit about the STARS Fund Act, and I'll give you some staffing budget recommendations. I passed those out as you came in today, so those are also on top of your packet. We'll dive into the tuition fund and explain that a little bit more, and then I want to talk a little bit about our mill value. As I sent out recently, we just got that information back too, which could be a factor in how we budget going forward this next year, being a little bit different from where we have been at for the previous 100 years. We haven't seen a decrease in that value for a long time, except for this year. So that was countywide. So that's kind of where we're going to go today with this piece. As I go, if there are places where you think a good question might be, don't be afraid to stop me and ask. And so we'll start with the high school information first. As you all know, high school, the basic two pieces to the funding of a high school budget are A and B and basic entitlement. And so when we start taking a look at our general funds, look at the trends over the years, we see that it's stayed pretty similar all the way across. And as we look at the enrollment of our students, you're going to see something similar to that. And so when you go to create a budget, you obviously look at the enrollment and the A and B that's calculated to determine how much money that you have to work with. So from the packet that you have, when I entered the correct information, it changed my side of my graph. So it's just a little bit different from yours, but this goes by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so kind of give you a good look at what that looks like for that trend over the last decade. Yes?
As I look at the last 3 years in B, our rolling average is not sure, so you get increasing significantly.
Right, which is on the next page.
Okay.
So, great question, so we'll get that.
Yeah.
So, people ask, what's the difference between enrollment and high school A and B? And you hit right on that, so I was gonna talk a little bit about. So enrollment obviously is the number of students that are coming to our school, that are enrolled in our school. We have high school A and B. You're gonna see right at the beginning of COVID about 2020, you're gonna see 1920, you'll see a jump there because the A and B went up. We were allowing homeschool students to be able to come to our activities. And so that's one factor in that. When we calculate the high school A and B, it is more than that. You might be looking at, why is there such a huge difference between the high school A and B and the actual enrollment? Why aren't they 1-to-1? Well, we have a lot of different factors of students that may not be here. We actually, when we calculated if they are in Montana Youth Challenge, if they are obviously in one of the sports that we have, there's about 7 or 8 different factors that go into calculating that high school A and B. You might have some part-time students as well. And so that's why some of those numbers, Dan brings up a good point. When we're looking at that enrollment over time, we got up a little bit back in 1920 where we hit 390 for enrollment. But going back a decade, we're at 357 for enrollment at the high school, and this last year was at 352. So that kind of shows a little bit into the factor of our costs keep going up every year for what it is to just pay salaries, which is at the high school level, 81% of our budget or so comes from salaries and benefits. That other 19% is everything else in that underneath that kind of fund. And so when we look at that piece, when we're trying to be competitive with salaries, obviously our at 81%, our general fund is going to continue to keep climbing each year. let alone that other 19% where we're taking into account a lot of our utilities. Trying to factor in utilities over the years is similar to when you guys may do your own budgets at home with your utilities. You're looking at how much that increases. And so when we build a budget, and we'll get to that piece here in a little bit, we use factors looking at either a 3 or 5 year projection of what the in certain categories over that period to be able to set an estimate for what we should be able to live within our means for that. Again, here's another look at that general fund trend as it stays pretty flatlined. It's really similar to our enrollment pieces. So you can kind of see those spikes in the middle with our enrollment. We're hit all the way up to 390 in 2019, and now we're the trend line is pretty flat, right? And there's other districts like this across the state where their trend line is flat. For the valley here, as I've lived here, most schools are seeing some type of an increase in students because of just the influx of people moving to the valley. When we dug into it in one of the districts I was in before, we were actually realizing that there may be an influx of people, but how many of them are bringing kids with them? So the trend was, even though there's more people in the valley, we may not be getting a lot of families to the valley, partly because how much it costs to actually live in the valley. So when we look at that and build that budget up, we take a look at those trends over time, and we have a starting amount that we start with, which was 3.2 million was what we had projected. And then we had in that tuition fund and made sure that we had what the STARS Act money gave us as well, and we'll kind of get to that in a bit. But there's really 5 big factors that drive a little bit of our, or most of our budget. One is that tuition fund, the new laws that go into special education and being able to get money from other districts, and we also have to pay other districts where our special education kids go to. We'll kind of break that down here at the end. We also need to spend a certain amount of money by law for Indian Education for All. We've done some work over the summer by creating an Indian Education for All guide that will help us. This last year we left some money on the table that could be used to help with professional development and making sure that we have this curriculum implemented into our district. We have several people that have come together at the primary, middle school, and high school to help build a curriculum guide where we're asking teachers to teach 2 different lessons throughout the year. That's just a minimum, but we know what they are, and then we can budget for them and we can help use that money. It's not that teachers haven't been teaching Indian Education for All, we just haven't done it systematically, because we also have to turn something into OPI that states how are you going to use that money. And so this goes into what we're doing with our budgeting by being able to have a curriculum plan where we can create line items that fit that category. So we have to spend about $5,000 in the high school, and almost all of that in the elementary. Next, we also built in, working with Dave on this, of a line item for curriculum. We feel like that's an important piece to this whole plan of being able to provide curriculum that's reviewed on a cycle connected to OPI every 5 years. This next year, we will get that information out to you on what's going to be coming up next. But being able to build that into a budget was an important factor in the building of this budget. And obviously, Harmony comes with a cost up front where we pay for students' courses as they get enrolled, and then we don't get the money for it until the next year on that piece of it. So we did have upwards, I think, Angie, correct me if I'm wrong, close to 66, I think, at the end of last year. Right? So when we asked Colby from Harmony he was here yesterday to meet and talk with us about all the processes we need to do to get ready for the school year, we were hitting in the low 30s. Now, that's a big difference from 60 down to 30 just in spring to fall. But again, we had a lot of students that were in the homeschool, in other areas that now have Lone Rock and Victor area. Those kids were coming to us for Harmony, and we were grabbing that EMP this last year. So that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about here in a bit is how to market that. I think there is still a huge homeschool population. If we can get them involved in seeing the benefit of this program, it being accredited, and having a high school degree by the end of its diploma is important. And then the last thing is the infusion of the STARS Act money. So, and we get closer to it, we had an infusion with a net revenue of nearly $496,000 this last year. And so we'll talk why that was put into law for us to be able to use that funding for here in a little bit. But those are the main 5 factors that played into the elementary high school budget. Questions on that?
Yeah, I've got a question. See that you have master stipends in there, but we did this matrix and don't have master stipends. Is that like $20,000 up for
Right.
somewhere else?
That's a good point. I need to get some goal on that piece of it. We did generate the master stipends in the contract. Maybe a little more in green there. Any other questions? Along with the high school, I was asked by a board member to put in the athletic budget as well. And so we have a total between salaries, travels and meals, and a breakout of how much supply they have in their budget for each of the sports. We are at $360,000. So this is something that's working with both Mr. Kane and Mr. Estelle this year to be able to use their budget, hopefully to empower them to be able to watch as the year goes where they're at with each of the sports. One of my last districts was always difficult by the end of the year, depending on how many teams made it to state tournaments in May, in June, usually May, to be able to help make sure we have enough money by the end to be able to fund some of those trips if they're making it to state. So these are things that I think that Mr. Tennis brought forward, and also that I'm going to be working with these guys on. We're trying to get them access to their budget as they spend, to be able to know monthly where they're at. That's my goal, and I know that's their goal too, to help make better informed decisions.
We approve the expenditures. One for uniforms for the summer, approximately $8,000. If that isn't in the athletic budget.
Good question. So that was brought forward at the end of June and then got into this budget. And so one of the things that we talked about is how you purchase uniforms. Done it 2 different ways, right? Some districts purchase at the beginning of a sporting season, so they have them for that upcoming season, right? Tough thing with that is if you're purchasing at the beginning, it's hard to know what you're going to have by the end. But I just talked about with like state tournaments and everything that happens in May. And so another way to do this is to look at end of year funds to be able to determine how much of end of year funds that we have. And so what I'm saying is I was not a part of that decision. We'll make sure that we are on top of it this going forward and how we're going to use the rotation of jerseys going forward.
Let me ask you about Huddle. So, did Huddle come out of this study?
Huddle has not been out of there yet. We are working with the company right now to get a new invoice, the invoice that was submitted last week.
So that kind of the sports that are served by metal.
That's a great question. I think that is a piece of it that would be cut by separate.
So you also approve a company that's going to line our football fields, soccer fields, whatever that. Did that one come out of it?
That did not come out of this.
In the future, is it possible when we know we have these kinds of expenses to put them in the athletic budget? So we can better track what we are spending on everybody?
That is our goal, honestly, to be able to determine where we're at in our budget and what we have left to spend.
Not to go on this page too long, but quickly on that stipend line, do we know if that's all of addendum B or did that get truly separated out? And Dave might have ran that number, so you might not know, but I'm curious if it was, we did a lot of work on addendum B. I don't know if that was the number or if that's truly just the athletic, the ones above it, you know, off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, I will research that.
And it doesn't, it doesn't, matter for approval either way. I'm just curious, but I appreciate it being placed on the screen and shared, the way you share it. Thank you.
So I'm asking for a procedural piece. Would you like to vote on that or go through the whole presentation first and then vote on each of them? What would be the best thing to do? Have it split up from high school to elementary.
I think that, why don't you stay in your flow of presentation?
Okay. All right, continuing, we have the elementary district budget K through 8. ELP, actually. You're going to see, it looks like we have pretty much a sharp hike in the trend of our general fund. What you have to realize is if you look at exact numbers in the budget, the elementary K through 8 is actually 65% of our overall budget. If you look at K-12, that's compared to 35. So when we look at that infusion of money from the STARS Act, that's 65% of all the money that's coming. They have more teachers, obviously, from ELP to 8th grade than there is from 9th to 12th grade, and that's what makes up that sharp increase. And so when we start taking a look at the trends at the elementary, you do see an increase in that enrollment from a decade ago, from 635 to 664. And so as they go up, obviously that's going to affect the budget. The more AD you get at the high school level when you go. We're a little bit over $5 million for that general fund. Quite a bit of a steep hike from 4.6 up to 5.0. Again, there's two factors that play into that. One is the compensation from tuition, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, as well as that STARS Act money. So again, there's what it looks like, line graph of our budget, and the trend line going up. And there's our enrollment, which is interesting, even though it shows the scale is on 200s, right? You can kind of make whatever data you want to make depending on the size of the scale of that. It's like, even though it's only 30 kids, there is from the beginning to the end of the decade, there is an increase of 30 students. So again, this will be pretty much the same with the stipends on the fact that they're in there as well. But there's 5 main factors that play into it. The same factors of the high school fund. The piece of that tuition fund that offsets, we're looking at right around 146,000 as we calculate it. Again, that's going to be affected by that bill value when we talk more about that for this upcoming year too. So, not to repeat myself, but those are all the same types of factors, 5 factors as the high school for the elementary. Any questions on that? Okay, some of the strategies that we've tried to do to reduce the impact on the general fund have been since Senate Bill 307 came out in 2017. There has been a lot of flexibility with how we can use funds, and there continues to be more flexibility within those funds. And so, as a superintendent, there are pieces with the business team to find ways to alleviate all of the funding for certain positions always coming out of the general fund. And so some of the things that we have worked on, and Mr. Tennis has worked on as well, is looking at how much of our administrative costs are paid out of transportation and secretarial. Some of the district administration and business management costs are coming out of that transportation budget too. We'll get into that transportation presentation after this. And then looking at how we can use that building reserve money, which deals with a lot of safety, like our school resource officer and our school nurse. And then trying to calculate as best we can that increase in our tuition permissive levy for the tuition fund. One of the things that Mr. Tennis did was ask Glenda to specifically track everything starting this year with the in and out of her students that are special ed and how much money we need to allocate and bill other districts, but also how much money we're going to get back in. We'll talk a little bit about that here coming up too. So Glenda did a great job with that piece of it. And then looking at how we pay our title programs and what comes out of those areas is always something we can continue to keep looking at for our flexibility. And lastly, we have a Harmony A&B being able to help us with more supply money for our classrooms. So those are some of the strategies that we used this last year, and I think we'll continue to keep having discussions about what that looks like. And then my recommendations going forward are continuing to look at our early kindergarten program at 2 full classrooms. And it'd be great to have a 3rd classroom of that. I know Ms. Power would love to have 1 more classroom. That comes with another room, and obviously that comes with A&B, but that would be powerful to get more kids. Because I believe, and hopefully you do as well, that early intervention, you know, with students into these programs. First summer for Jumpstart. And I got to give kudos to Ms. Power on this piece of it, because we went from and being able to have up to, we had 35 students, 30, yeah, just about 35 students in our Jumpstart program this summer. And she was sharing with us some of the data that she collected, because that's part of the reporting is on the data that we have to input for OPI, and it has been positive with the number of students that have made progress over the summer. So I believe Jumpstart is a huge program. It'd be nice to be able to double the number of students that we have. Obviously, we have to look for students that are in need of those interventions, and we have tracking and screeners that can help us with that piece of it. Next one is that Harmony program. I think we can do a better job of advertising Harmony and getting it out to people and connecting with their community to get more students involved with it. And so there are some school districts that have upwards of 100 students in their Harmony program. He said yesterday they are, how many school districts do you guys remember that they're working with, or schools they're working with? I forgot that number. They've increased a lot of school district 7 in the western side of the state. So it'll be nice to, tomorrow there is actually a Harmony, almost like symposium at 10 o'clock tomorrow for us, where they're talking about getting parents in to be able to talk about Harmony. Next one down is
Mr. Cohen?
Yeah.
Just a quick question. What is being done to promote the Harmony program?
right? So that's a good question. So when we have had a couple meetings with families. One thing that we found last year was that when we did an open meeting for the public, one person came, but that one person was connected to several families, and they were like spokesmen and asked questions for it. So obviously, there's a lot of things we need to beef up and do and advertise. But I also think we need to do that with everything we do in this district. Because when I walk the halls and everywhere I go, I'm amazed at all the things that are going on, and we need to continue to keep celebrating and telling the story up, because now we're competing against every single district in our area for students. So I know we can do a better job of that piece of it. Next one is looking at a public charter school that comes with another full entitlement piece of money that could be something that we could grow into. We have so many great ideas. It's just trying to figure out how we can connect those ideas to things that we need in our community, as well as all the positives and strengths we have in several areas of our schools. One example would be some type of a CTE pathway over the school. We have unbelievable people that are running these programs, and I feel like if they knew more about the things that we are doing, coming up with a public charter school is a way that a lot of districts are gaining more money. And then obviously staffing, I feel good about right where we're at with our staffing, and trying to keep those levels the same. Mental health piece is another recommendation we need to keep looking at. One thing we did is we pulled out, obviously, the co-op, you know that, but we have partnered with 2 different companies, and we've been meeting with new therapists, either behavioral specialists yesterday. We have a team at the elementary level, we have a team that'll be for the middle school, high school with AWARE, and we have another company called Meadowlark out of Missoula that it will be K-12. And so obviously not serving the same students, but we have 3 rooms where we are dedicating 3 offices where we're dedicated to increasing that support for mental health. And then obviously we've got to work on what those systems look like for families to be able to access those mental health support. And lastly, number 7 is continuing to look at all the different funding efficiencies that we have in junior funds. So those are my 7 recommendations. We'll take a look at that. I think that's the final last group that we have on there. It deals with the recommendations and the budget priorities as we go forward with more items. Again, I just summarized what I said, so I'm not going to repeat that. Like to vote on that, or you want to go to transportation? Transportation as well.
Yeah, let's do the general fund on those, and then we'll kind of break that up a little bit, and we'll dive into it. So, thank you. Questions from the board? Questions from the public? So what we'll be working on is, because of our split district status, approving the budget. And then are we doing the exact numbers in there too as well, the bottom lines?
Yeah, and then the packet I had out today.
Yep, got that in here, very good, okay. And so really, I think if folks have questions about why these bottom line numbers are what they are, Mr. Coleman has gone into great detail in the presentation to explain that. And so that's appreciated, but this would be time for any additional questions. Of course, essentially, we are approving, taking action that then passes these disbursement of these funds, or the disbursement of collection of these funds out to the taxpayers. Questions about the elementary general fund budget?
I'll make a motion. Great presentation, thank you so much. I move to authorize the Stevensville Elementary School District General Fund Budget Authority for $4,713,517.59 for the 2026 fiscal year. What did I do?
That's
The wrong one?
That's the wrong one.
Oh, there's a new sheet.
5,000.
It's,
That's
5 million.
That's 5,000. It's the packet on the table.
Right.
Can I, yeah, I'd like to, I would like to take my motion off the table and try to redo my motion.
All right, any objection to the motion being withdrawn by the maker of the motion? See no objection, the motion is withdrawn.
Thank you.
All right, floor is open for a motion.
I'd like to try again, next motion. I move to authorize the Stevensville Elementary School District General Fund Budget Authority for $5,044,621.88 for the 2026 fiscal year.
It's been moved by Stephanie, seconded by Billy to authorize the general fund budget for the fiscal year 26 for the elementary district. Further board question or comment? Further public question or comment? Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Tony, how do you vote? Fran? I vote aye. Stephanie?
I vote aye.
Billy? Aye. Motion carries, 6-0, motion passes. All right. And then, same questions, same consideration for our high school district. Floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to authorize the Stevensville High School District General Fund Budget Authority for $3,247,976.36 for the 2026 fiscal year.
Thank you, Jennifer. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Jennifer, seconded by Stephanie to authorize the general fund budget authority for the 26 fiscal year for the high school district. Further board question or comment? Question or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. We do this each year, it's a good process. Testament to all the people involved, that the numbers have been claimed, it makes sense, and we're able to vote on those. So cleanly. Thanks all.
I appreciate just the vision that's included with it as well, and not just, that's what we do.
Right, here's a number, take it or leave it. All right, so transportation is its own budget. And we're in a weird middle area here. I asked John because I found it interesting. I think John did share you the number I thought he had on the tuition fund in hours. You want to share that with him? I know you told me at the top of your head. Where was that?
38,000.
38,000, yeah.
We'll get to that piece here.
Yeah.
Interesting enough to have at the end, because I don't know, it would have been better to have
That's good.
Have it by subject and not by school.
So that's the amount that's non-voted, out of our control, but the taxpayers will all assess that, split out.
Want me to, let me do these guys too. I should have skipped those before we did any of the votes. But, and again, to highlight the work that Glenda and the team has done with this piece of the we're tracking it. If you were to look at the spreadsheets that they use, it is mind-numbing to track how much they actually did and got down to looking at a student's allocated minutes and being able to calculate how much that para works for that and being able to calculate the amount of money that goes into that. I just find that fascinating that that's where we're at in Montana funding in the formula. Again, the point though was, we have a lot of students that end up going to other districts. Other districts are having to pay for special ed costs. And so if you look at our numbers with special ed, we've had a kind of a continual increase over the last 6 years from 130 all the way up to 166 students that are identified needing a special education. And so obviously out of 1,000 or so students on campus, you can almost look at that percentage and say it's about 16%. It's a little bit less than that.
And actually that number is closer to 170 now after enrollments that have come in this week. We're at 170.
So we're probably over that 16 or 17%. But
yeah.
At one point when I came to the district, we heard upwards of 20%.
Yes.
So I want to kind of dispel that myth that we do have a rather large SPED population within our district, but there are much worse districts than us that have identified way more than we have. But that doesn't mean we still need to continue to work on our MTSS multi-tier system support, helping to get kids what they need before they become identified in special ed.
And I will say that it's not, the majority of it, Glenda, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't ones that we are identifying, but that we are getting from other districts
Correct.
that are moving in.
Yes.
It's oftentimes that.
Yes, we do get in more students here on an IEP than we qualify. That was not true in the past. That is true of the last couple of years. Yes. Our increase we have now is due to enrollment.
Which we have two stipulations that we've written into our strategic plan to be able to, one, limit with Montana accreditation standards for general population, but for special ed population, programs within special ed that are either a structured learning environment or life skills students. We wrote into that strategic plan with Cal Law's help, as well as new laws, MCA code that came out this last summer, to give us guidance to be able to say up to 3 out of districts. As soon as we hit that level, we can then deny students coming into our district. One, that will help save us from having to hire more special education staff. But two, it doesn't put another stressor onto our teaching staff when we have a high population, especially coming in from out of district. So when we started looking at the tuition exchange, remember a little bit about this when Dave presented on this earlier this last year, we are not only getting money in from districts, but we're also billing districts. And so I just thought it was pretty fascinating that they were pretty close on the numbers when they started estimating where we would be with the money going in and money going out. They originally predicted about $16,000 that they would be having to pay, which is a negative, so we're having to pay that out as a net. And we ended up with about 38. So that part's double, but the amount of money that we had, that we thought was going to be outgoing was almost right on. We had outgoing at $236,000 was the actual projected was $240,000. And the money coming in, this is the controversial piece that I feel like is questions that I have for our state OPI is when we bill other districts and getting that money back in. And we were, as up until last week, still waiting for 2 districts, right?
Correct.
To send their money to us. And so,
To send the bill to us. That was correct, I will say. I've had to send some back because they were not correct. So we're still waiting.
All of this is the accuracy of billing from all of these districts. So
yeah.
We're continuing to ask questions to dig deeper to find why we're getting charged a certain amount of money for certain kids. And they have to be able to supply why in a similar fashion with the spreadsheet that we have to be able to tell us why they're charging us what they are. And so unfortunately, this is at a time, at a money that's going out. But I understand a little bit about how, like when I was in another school district, it was a big district. We had all these small schools sending their special ed population into the city school. The city school was having to service and supply the needs for those students. And so I kind of understand a little bit about why it came about, but it sure has made Montana funding for special ed a lot more difficult.
And we have, John, can I just make a note? Out of our special education students, the 170 that we have, I haven't checked recently, but the last time I looked, we were about 10 to 12% of those students are out of district students. So of our SPED population, 10 to 12% are from another district that we are servicing.
John, another school district, builds that school.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any mechanism to challenge or question what that is that they're charging us, what the services are being charged?
To a certain extent, like we can send the bill back.
Yeah.
And ask, please recalculate
Yes.
this is what we have, but we need, and I need, like this is the question I have for OPI, like who's monitoring all of those pieces? They say they have people that are monitoring it, but
Right.
this is happening all over the state. With these
Right.
pieces of it. Like there are some districts that totally, some districts build us and they shouldn't even have built us.
Yes, yeah. It takes a lot of time to track and make sure that they're correct. And the state sets the amounts for each school, how much we can bill, and we can't bill over that. But when it comes to the special education piece and what we can and can't bill for, there's a formula that we go through with the state. But we're not exactly sure who on the state end is actually monitoring that. We, as our district, we were only billed for one special above and beyond what we're allowed to charge, only one. And we billed out 2 students to another district. And there's a whole formula for that, so.
It gets fishy when you start getting bills from outside of your
Yeah.
area. Because we have students as far away that we're paying tuition for that go to Lolo and
Billings.
Howgate.
Billings, we had one in Billings. Yeah, so, yeah.
So it's just interesting how all this is coming out. So we'll definitely have more questions to keep asking about this. So within your budget packet, it kind of breaks out how this money is coming out. These funds will be used to provide services to our students that are here. We have a tuition fund. We have a calculator for that as well for in-district students at about $135,000. Kids that are going out of district, this district will invoice other districts. We have about $5,000 on the other way. This is the high school level. We have a lot more at the elementary level though. So in-district costs, obviously ELP to 8th grade is a lot more students. Again, that's 65% or so of our population of all our students on campus. So obviously this is going to be more. And so we're at about $215,000. We're asking, looking at the tuition fund to help support as we go forward. Again, there is a calculator for that to be able to determine how much money we're asking for. And students going out of district was at $5,000. So when we look at it overall, the elementary overall, we're looking at for that tuition fund $223,000, and the high school at $154,000. The top two talk a little bit about from the tuition fund. This is the piece that we're that tuition exchange going back and forth. And so we have to put that into how we built that into the budget, as well as the increase in salaries. And I think we only gave ourselves maybe a $5,000 cushion. If we have a student that comes in or a student that leaves, especially whether we have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So you never know what students are coming into your district, but I feel like now with that in our strategic plan, where we specifically state 3 students for that learning structure and the life skills programs at a cap, we may not hit that 5,000. So that's a little bit about. Any other questions on that tuition exchange and levy impact? Last thing is as far as Well, last thing is as far as funding, we talked a little bit about that. If you don't know, we're trying to get by fiscal year 2030 up to having that starting salary be 70% of the average salary. And so you can see the increase each year is about 2% to get up to that 70% level, which our funding then is not the same all 5 years. It kind of decreases as it goes down till fiscal year 2030. But good information to have. You can kind of see at the very bottom of that in your budget packet, I listed what that starting salary needs to be at that minimum level. So we're going from fiscal year 26 to 41,615, and by fiscal year 30, we should hopefully hit 46,130 or 159. So you can kind of see that increase in the base salary. So obviously they're compressing the salary schedule and making it so that starting salary is easier for teachers to want to become a teacher and to be able to hit the living costs of housing in some of our areas. It still makes it, I think, really difficult for bidders to live here off of 41,000 trying to buy a home. I never rent, but trying to buy a home is a little more difficult. So those were all factors in what they talked about with STARS funding that came from Lou Jones and House Bill 252. So anyway, with that out there for you, any questions on either tuition or STARS Act funding? Okay, last two things. Last two, transportation budget for the elementary. You can obviously see in that graph, looking at the total budget, an increase over the last 4 years. Some of that comes from flexibilities within the transportation fund. And probably the biggest factor in that is the cost of transportation and paying a third party to bus our I'd like to say that's probably not a joke yet, but it could be in the future. Like we were able to save the district 1.3 million from the other bus company, and so this would been bringing to you a much larger budget, just about $200,000 more in this budget if we went the other route. So. We're hopeful with, obviously, the working with the management of Harlow's and getting things ironed out before the school year starts. Then we're hopefully going to be able to start on day one with making sure we have routes for all of our students. So this budget details a little bit about how some of those flexibilities I talked about earlier, where we talked about paying for some of the salaries that actually deal with transportation, from administration to secretarial pieces that are also paid out of the transportation fund at a certain level, which gives obviously some relief to the general fund, but also comes with support that we are doing for our transportation fund that we're working with. So you can kind of see in yellow, that's the amount that we're paying this year from the elementary portion for busing to Harlow's at $440,000. Then we have other associated costs within there. So this one, when Dave and I built the budget, we looked at a 3-year span to be able to budget going forward. Some of the items we kept the same because we felt like they could live within those needs and where they're at. And some of them, since they're possibly utilities or salaries, that we were increasing the percentage, 5% on how it's been over the last 2 years. So with that, that is the elementary budget. High school budget has much the same pieces. We are paying Harlow's on the high school side of it, $237,341. Probably a little over $500,000 this year for transportation for the high school. So with that, questions?
Yes. I guess, maybe it's not a line, but is there a line item for sending staff members to get in drive school vehicles? Transportation budget? Okay. And then another question is there any kind of capital improvement line item in the transportation budget for replacing capital assets like vans and travel buses?
That piece is in there, yes. We definitely want to look at how fast we can update our plans. And so I would agree that's something that is on my priority list.
I think, and I agree too, I think part of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, some of that, if it's not home to school, we can't, it's not transportation. So it's not this discussion, it's general fund. Not that it's not worth having, but they're general fund goes on, general fund dollars, so we have to then, obviously we just approved those budgets a minute ago, but then we have to decide what can we not do in the general fund in lieu of doing something for a travel bus or something else. Not to say that something shouldn't be done with some of the different things, and again, John has been nothing but very receptive in some brief conversations I had, so not disagreeing, just saying it's not this. By law, we can't send it out here.
There's actually, you can, when you purchase a van for driver's ed, it can come out of the transportation funds. You must use it for at least, I think, 5 years in a lot of states, then it can go and be pushed into the general fund. So in one of my last districts, we were buying lease returns that were 1 year old or so, and using that for driver's ed, right? And then taking the chicken break, earlier that funds driving to town or professional development. Take that out and then push those into the general fund. So you're looking at a van that only has maybe 5 years, that's pretty good shape. So there is a way to do that. I did that in another district legally. Bill, help me out here. I also need to acknowledge Brendan here too. He's from Edgewater, and he has devoted time and effort to coming in and working with us with some of our procedures and getting stuff ready to go, as well as doing some professional development with me on the systems that we had in place that we need to continue to talk about how powerful they could be going forward. So, Brandon, thanks for your time and effort that you put in talking with both Danny and I and our team on getting stuff ready to go. He also has a freshman coming to school from Lodi, so thanks, Brandon.
I just have a thought. Does Harlow have to pay any rent for the building use out there?
Last contract was $1.
And we pay all the utilities?
Not all. So we are going to partner with the snow plowing piece, because that was kind of an issue this last year, and who was going to do the snow plowing. So we are working with them on that. Right, electricity and that's in the contract, help me out, and remember that piece of
The electricity, gas, that we are. The district has that, yeah. But the snow plowing, you're correct. We are, and then maintenance, custodial, is part of the there. Trevor, you made 2 points, and so, and both are good questions. One about the home to school vehicles, which would be general fund. Second was training. We've talked some, and I think we need to continue to talk. We are at Stevensville fairly far out of alignment, practice with how other districts handle staff driving vehicles. And so we need to visit about that. That's our own internal policy. It's not a state law. I think we've changed insurance carriers. It's so big, it's still in our insurance writer. Might still be, okay. So if it is, then we figure some things out with that. I was thinking maybe that it expired or They still don't know yet. Okay. So, that anyways, I want to acknowledge the second. Frank?
Is it possible we might consider, the other thing that Trevor brought up is we've allotted money for our master's stipend, so maybe the money that we've allotted there can be put towards some of the things we're talking about, that we just voted on our budget. That's in our elementary and high school budget that we won't be using, so that's some flexibility for funds there that maybe we could redirect that.
Maybe, we could- yes, I appreciate that. I did not make a comment about that because I'm not nearly as versed in this. I remember sitting in negotiations, looking at that a little bit and some talk of where that found itself, so I can't. I don't, it might be a possibility. I think it'd be an excellent conversation.
Great info.
Yeah. Other questions on transportation and what we're doing there? We spent a lot of time this summer on transportation. The work that's been done there, and I think we're, based on superintendent's report and recent email, we're about to get off on a good start to the school year of transportation. Cool, that's what we heard, so we're excited about that. Further questions from the board? From the public? Floor is open for a motion.
I move to authorize the Stevensville Elementary School District Transportation Budget Authority for $852,575 for the 2026 fiscal year.
Is there a second? Been moved by Fran, seconded by Tony. Last chain or final call for questions, comments? Right. Billy, how do you vote? Aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
I vote aye. Fran, how do you vote? Tony? Dan? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to the high school, same question, same budget. Jennifer?
I move to authorize the Stevensville High School District General Transportation Authority with $534,015.37 for the 2026 fiscal year.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by, motion by Jennifer, seconded by Tony. Further question, comment from the board? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say sign. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Superintendent Coleman, for excellent work there on walking us through one of the most important things that we do every August. Thank you. And all district office staff, we help support all that. This takes us to a next action item, which is adoption of policies. Policy committee's been hard at work with 8 policies for first reading tonight. So as we've done with other policies, when we have multiple, we can consider all of these at once for first reading. And so you have them there in your packet, and if everybody's taking a look, develop any questions that they might have for those. But policy committee members, anything you'd like to draw our attention to?
Then I believe that, according to our policy 13, we can actually adopt these on the first reading.
Okay.
So that we don't have to come through, another board cycle.
Okay.
So I think that was the goal with these.
Okay.
And to clarify, the only way you can do that is if they are from current legislation or a change in MCA code, which all of these we pulled out of there are.
Okay. These are all driven by the legislature for the most part, and telling us we have to update it.
Correct.
Very good.
There's only one that I think I have a revision that Fran can speak to.
I think there was one that I caught that we didn't catch in policy committee when I was reviewing them. It's policy 2334. We have a cross-reference to policy 2410 and 2413 that are in that we do not necessarily have.
Accepting those changes and adopting. All right.
Because you don't use those policies anymore, or you just don't.
So, oh, go ahead.
We don't use, that's okay, either way. We don't, our policy does not include credit for the religious dedication. And so because of that, there's no need to cross-reference, those, let's see, right, high school graduation and credit. Transfer assessment, replacement, there's no reason to cross-reference that, because we're not doing this credit option.
Okay. All right, questions about these policies? And this would be first and final reading at this time, unless they were to be brought forward again.
Thank you, policy committee, for working on these, and that's a lot of detail work.
One last comment. These policies are also, some of them affect the handbooks. And that's why we brought, even though there was 27 recommendations, we brought these ones forward because they affected what we have, some of our policies.
Right.
Handbooks.
All right, questions or comments from the public on these policies? All right, floor is open for a motion.
Happy to make a motion. I move to approve policy numbers 2132, 2135, 2165, 2334, 3235, 3410, 5122, and 3655 on first reading as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Stephanie, seconded by Billy to approve the policies aforementioned through first reading and then through for approval. Further questions, comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. 2 items left on our action business agenda tonight. Adoption of district goals and objectives, and Superintendent Cronin, you have a quick update on that. It would be different from what we did.
I do not have anything different from what we've already mentioned, but we have them in the strategic plan as appendices C.
Oh, okay. So we're not we're not changing anything that we did on the July 28th. We're just adopting them into the back of a document.
Correct.
Okay. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? The floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to adopt this strategic plan revisions in the 2025-2026 district goals and objectives as presented.
Motion by Jennifer, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Stephanie. Questions or comments? Public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Lastly, we have the adoption of district budget priorities, which was part of the budget presentation, correct?
Correct. I noticed that this was in last August board meeting, so I kind of wanted to make sure it was in ours as well.
Okay. Appreciate the work that's been put into that. Are there questions from the board, or this would be an opportunity to provide additional thoughts or guidance around these setting priorities? Questions or comments from the public? Floor is open for motion.
I move to approve the district's budget priorities as presented.
Second.
Been moved by Stephanie, seconded by Jennifer. Further questions from the board? All those, yes,
I
Frank?
have a question.
Yes, please.
So this was given to us tonight, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, am I correct in thinking that as per conversation and training with our attorney, that if this was not part of the original packet,
Oh,
that we might not should vote on this and approve.
I can't say with confidence, was it in our own packet?
I did not see it in our packet.
It's not, I was in my motion. I think you're,
No, I looked at the presentation. I thought that it was in your packet. So you're right. Let's make sure, let's put it in the
I'm pretty sure.
special board meeting.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
could be wrong. That's-
I think she's right. I
Nope.
don't think it was in there. Mm-mm. And Fran, I do think you
It
are
was
correct.
presented, but it
Yeah.
wasn't made to
Yeah.
public. You're correct, Fran.
I just would rather, especially involving budget, I would rather it's not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Right, the motion has been moved and seconded, but,
I rescind my motion. I withdraw my motion.
does the trustee who seconded the motion?
I agree to withdraw and the motion.
Does any trustee object to the withdrawal of the motion? Seeing none, the motion is withdrawn. The floor is now open for a motion.
I move to table the adoption of district budget priorities for the. I'm gonna just stop it there. Until the next board meeting.
There a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Stephanie, seconded by Jennifer, to table the adoption of district budget priorities until the next meeting of the school board. Questions or comment on the motion to table? All those in favor of tabling the motion, tabling the adoption of district budget priorities until the next board meeting of school trustees, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is tabled. The last item tonight, the scheduling of the meeting. You were asked to
Yes.
fit that in. So, that I think you want to run by, we're talking a noon meeting, we're talking 7 PM.
I would love to, I mean, it's up to how many board members we can get. So I'd love to do it Tuesday or Thursday next week.
19th or the 21st.
Right.
Evening, correct?
The evening would be great. As we have trainings during the day all day.
Yeah.
I'm out the 19th, 21st.
Or even the 20th, after pancakes, I could do that. Because we're asking the board to be
Oh,
here.
yeah, that would.
That would, yeah, what if we did a quick one after we had some pancakes?
9:30.
I will not be available.
How many do we have?
I will not be available on the 20th during the day. I could do.
Raise your hand if you're available.
I could do any evening that week.
What are the thoughts on tying it to the staff breakfast for those trustees who are attending the staff breakfast?
I'm attending the staff breakfast, but I will not be able to stay on that.
I see. I see.
No, let's go tonight then.
What's that?
Let's go at the nighttime then.
That 20th Wednesday night at 7 PM.
Yeah, or
The 20th or the 21st.
20th or
Yeah.
21st. Yeah.
20th works better for me.
Okay.
Okay.
We can do the 20th.
20th at 7 PM, folks. Special board meeting. We're thinking half hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah, we'll have the elementary handbook and some hires and my recommendations. I didn't do well on. Do that again.
Yes, we have some book disposals that did not get through previously. So in the transition of administration, that was lost somewhere in the translation. So
Okay, okay, so let's do a quick forum check. Okay, Wednesday night, the 20th, 7 p.m. Billy? Yes. Would make it fun. I would be present for it. Fran?
Yes.
Tony? Jennifer?
Yes.
Dan? Yes. Okay. Bill?
Yeah.
It'll be comfortable. Okay. All right, so I feel like we're good, you know.
Okay.
So. Okay, that's not an action item, that's just informal discussion, but we'll take that for what it is. Anything else?
That is it.
Okay, all right, the floor is open for a moment. Tony, is there a second? Second. All those in favor of adjourned, say aye. Motion carries.